The mother of all previews. Another game on the horizon. On Thursday in the Europa League, we face Real Betis at Old Trafford, who are managed by the former Premier League referee Pellegrini of Man City and West Ham respectively. But before we go balls deep into the preview, I want to continue the discussion and the bits I didn't include in my match reaction on Sunday, which I'm going to add to now. Bruno Fernandes is very fortunate that he's a fanboy's favourite, because if that was McTominay, the far top Reds would want his head on the silver platter. And I am going to go in on Bruno Fernandes, because somebody sane has to, so it might as well be me. That was, from Bruno, post Alex Ferguson, individually, the worst performance from a Manchester United player playing at Anfield. We were humiliated and it was a spit roast in front of the Sky cameras. The game beamed around the world. His antics were nothing short of a disgrace. He was diabolical. He's a dirty, rotten cheat. He's the king of the dive. He embarrassed himself on that football pitch, along with his teammates. He's an egotistic maniac. He must have a hole of mirrors at home, because he loves himself that much. He's petty, he acts like an old woman, bitching, moaning, whinging and whining. His antics can never ever be shown again. He needs to act his age, not his bloody shoe size. He can't act like he did on a football pitch and expect no repercussions from it, because he deserves to be outed. And when you play for Man United, you're representing this club around the world. And there was a hint of a share of desperation in his performance. I mean, he let himself down, he let the club, the fans down, and most important of all, he let his family down. How his kids can sit and watch that match with what their father, with his antics, they must be embarrassed to have him as a father. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if they act more mature than Bruno Fernandes. And when he went home, I don't know how he could look his kids in the eye, that their father threw his toys out the pram like a petulant child. And I was the first, I think, to call out Bruno Fernandes on his antics. Throws his arms in the air like he just doesn't care. You know, and for me, Ten Hag needs to put his foot down, rule of an iron fist, and take Bruno from the limelight, because the spotlight was on him, and he should be told, you're going to sit out for a couple of weeks and you're not going to play for me until you learn the error of your ways. There has to be repercussions when you lose at the scoreline we did. And it's actually a scoreline that the Premier League should be embarrassed about. That's the sort of scoreline you would see in women's football. It's the same scoreline you would see down Hackney Marshes at the weekend. And when the advertisers are looking at the 7-0, they will be in shock that that scoreline was ever allowed to occur in the Premier League. We are becoming, slowly but surely, like Arsene Wenger's latter years at Arsenal, where he would go and lose matches, especially at home, by a large scoreline. He would win a trophy, a cup, an FA Cup, and then he would get battered. One of the 5-1 defeat to Liverpool. They lost 6-0 to Chelsea once. They lost 8-2 to us at Old Trafford once. They lost 6-3, the same scoreline we lost by, against Man City. And that's what will be coming. And I don't think this is going to be the last time we're going to get a battering. I don't think it will come at Spurs. I don't think it will come at Newcastle. I think it could happen at Brighton, because Brighton did put 4 goals past us last season. But what's frightening is that was the same team we put out against the scum that we put out in the Carabao Cup final. So how can you go from winning a trophy to stop the 6-year trophy drought from that complete and utter nightmare of losing 7-0 the next week? And I suppose, in a way, you could say that you can get some bizarre results at the beginning of a season, losing 4-0 in August. But you should not be losing, especially as a Man United player and as a club at Scunfield, you know, by a 7-goal margin without reply. How do you come to the conclusion? How do you make sense of it all? It's just bizarre. I can't stand Bruno. He's not a captain. I don't know why he's got it. Well, he hasn't really, but I think he's atrocious. I don't like the guy. And it's startling. We lost 7-0 against Liverpool in early March. I mean, that shouldn't happen in a month of Sundays. It really shouldn't. So, yeah, I'm not happy with what I saw on Sunday. And no Man United fan should be. Because this hurts. Now, metaphorically speaking, I'm probably still having therapy after Liverpool did what they couldn't do, but they did do after 30 years. And also last Sunday. So I can't forget it. And I point blank refuse to go that I'm not going to. I can't do it because it was hurtful. And if you know the history between the two clubs, you'll be hurting as much as I am right now. It's painful. Now, the team I'm going to pick for Real Betis on Thursday. I'm going to give Jack Butland a go. I thought De Gea should have saved, actually, most of the goals, to be honest, at Scunfield. And people bang on about, well, he's got a clean sheet record, he's overtaken Peter Schmeichel. Yeah, of course you're going to get a record like that when you've been at Man United for as long as De Gea has. It's nothing to gloat about. It's nothing to write home about. I don't think it's a very good thing to celebrate. He's conceded 7 goals for the first time in his career. You know what I mean? Dean Henderson hasn't conceded 7 goals, has he? Didn't think so. So there you go. So Butland plays for me. Right back, Wan-Bissaka. Probably has to come in, I suppose, in a way. Left back, Malacia. Centre backs, I think it will be. I think Martinez will probably play. We don't have really much options, do we? In that regard, but I'm gonna keep the same two because I think there is more batterings to come for this team if we keep the same team, same squad. But I'll give those two another go. And I think they deserve to. I'm going to drop Bruno. I'm going to have a McTominay, Fred, and Sabitzer. The band back together, McTominay and Fred, just like the old days. And let's not forget, with those two as a partnership, we did finish second. So there you go. Have that. And we have got a pretty decent record of those two starting as well, so there is that, I guess. So that's a midfield 3. Up front, it's going to be Martial should be back, so I will put him there. Across that line, I think Sancho deserves a go. I'm going to play Elanga. And I'm also going to play. Now it's a tricky one because there's so many. We haven't really got the options. I don't want to start shithorsed. So I suppose Rashford's got to play in across the front 3. Casemiro looks like he's going to miss the game. And what was startling about Sunday, Casemiro, for the first time since arriving at Manchester United, he looked his age. He looked like a 31-year-old up there. It was embarrassing. You know what I mean? He's been very good for Man United Football Club, but he needs to be called out because he was shambolic as well. And he looks like the player that I said we bought. Come for the money, past his best. Real Madrid got rid of him. They're doing okayish without him. And this could be the start of his decline. This could be the catalyst for that. That's what I think. And also with that result against the Vermin, it can go one or two ways, couldn't it? We dismantle the squad like Pep Guardiola did after Man City a couple of years ago lost 4-0 against Everton at Goodison Park, with Tom Davies scoring an exotic chip to complete the route. Or it could be what happened when we had Louis van Gaal at Man United as Manchester United manager, where we lost, was it 6-3 to Leicester, and then Van Gaal went pragmatic. So which way is Ten Hag going to go? That'll be the interesting aspect of what's to come for me. So that's my team, and I'm going to go for a draw. So that's, as they say in the movies, is a wrap.